Hi guys, and welcome back. A few years ago, KECES S300 power amplifier walked into my listening room like it owned the place. Big transformer, high current delivery, and zero tolerance for lazy woofers. It wasn't supple, it was Mr. Olympia in a metal chassis. But today we're not discussing about more muscles, today we're going to discuss about more refinement. This is the KECES S300 Plus power amplifier that still rocks 45 amperes of peak current, but now with a much higher damping factor of 4000, having some meaningful upgrades under its hood. But does it actually sound more transparent, more refined and more controlled? Let's drop it into my reference system and find out what really changed. Today I won't discuss about its look and build quality because you already have my KECES S300 power amplifier review somewhere around here. I believe I posted it around 5 years ago, and these two devices are more similar than different. The only difference is that we now have a gold-like logo on the newest unit in line with the rest of their reference series. I have known KECES for a very long time. I tried plenty of the electronics. I'm still using their Monster IQ-RP 3600 balanced power conditioner because frankly nothing sounded remotely close to it, and I never heard my system as clean, punchy and dynamic before, so it's here to stay for a very long time. The best part is that while I've used so many KECES devices by now, I had absolutely zero issues with any of their devices. They're working 24 hours a day, I find them super reliable and I can always count on them. Something that I cannot say about every hi-fi brand out there. Tapping SMSL. Compared to the KECES S300, we now have much better speaker terminals. These are made by WBT. That usually cost around 160 euro for 4 pieces, featuring gold-plated pure copper conductors. These are free from eddy current loss, and thanks to the separation of the transmission line from the mechanical chassis, it's now possible to use high-quality materials for each component of these terminal blocks. Although the best electrical conductors, such as silver and pure copper, can have some mechanical limitations, WBT overcame them by using high-quality plastics. Secondly, we have improved signal wiring and upgraded internal materials. There is not much information on this, but a lower resistance and using some higher quality conductors can have a tremendous impact on the final sound. Last but not least, the damping factor has improved from 1500 on the S300 to 4000 on the S300 Plus. Damping factor describes how well an amplifier is controlling loudspeakers' motion, especially the woofers. A higher damping factor usually equals with a lower output impedance of the amplifier, thus tightening the control over the speakers, which is always a welcome addition, especially if you like to play it louder on bass-intensive tracks. Over the years, I tried most amplifier designs out there, and Class D amplifiers are undeniably impressive when it comes to efficiency. They simply sip power, they do not require a power plant to operate at full potential, they run cool and usually come in compact and lightweight enclosures. I find them modern and practical, and they usually do not cost you an arm and a leg. However, their biggest drawback, at least to my ears, is that they do not deliver you the sweetest harmonic textures, the most explosive dynamics, or that bigger-than-life soundstage that stretches well beyond your listening space. Class A amplifiers, on the other hand, are pretty much the opposite. They are big, they are heavy, they are hot, they are consuming lots of power, they are much more expensive, and yet they remain highly desirable in high-end audio applications because of their effortless current delivery, punchy dynamics, and some of the best driver control you can experience. The S300 Plus delivers the first 5 watts per channel in full Class A operation in high bias mode. That means that regardless if you're using some easy or hard to drive loudspeakers, some of that Class A sweetness and natural harmonic richness will always be present in your music. Technically speaking, the S300 Plus is a fully discrete design featuring a JFET input stage feeding a MOSFET output stage. Power supply design is equally impressive. We have a single but massive 1200 watt linear transformer that is backed up by around 65,000 of microfarads of filtering capacitance to store and deliver energy during demanding dynamic passages. As for power output, a single S300 Plus can deliver up to 130 watts per channel in 8 ohms, 225 watts in 4 ohms, and up to 410 watts in 8 ohms when bridging 2 units together working for some dual mono action. I wanted to have a big KECES family reunion, so that's why I used the S300 Plus together with its complementary S4 preamplifier, and of course everything was powered by that massive IQRP 3600 balanced power conditioner, and the rest of the system you already know very well. First of all, I feel like I need to explain to you why I feel that S300 Plus is quite special and why it needs your attention. For those unaware, the JFETs used at the input stage in the S300 Plus, they were made to behave very much like vacuum tubes. They are voltage driven, they tend to exhibit some soft clipping when overdriven, and they also produce even order harmonics very much like vacuum tubes. Interestingly, the MOSFETs used at the output stage as current buffers, they also are voltage driven, they offer soft clipping, and they tend to produce even order harmonics very much like vacuum tubes. Can you guess why Nelson Pass often uses JFETs at the input stage and MOSFETs at the output stage? Because this combination usually yields a more organic and lifelike presentation, having the natural flow of vacuum tubes with some punchy dynamics of solid-state electronics. I know some of you chase that elusive musicality, trying to be part of the music, trying to be touched by music, and this is that kind of amplifier. And when used in tandem with a Class A preamplifier like their S4, which by the way you can check my review for the S4 somewhere around here, then the sound is becoming really effortless, easygoing, regardless if you are listening at 50 or 100 dB. When Runar by Danheim started playing, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing those words incorrectly, I was surprised by the backing vocals, how deep they sounded into the mix, like those voices were not coming from the speakers themselves, but from somewhere beyond the walls of the listening room, creating a kind of tunnel vision that lingered into the silence. Perhaps the most striking aspect of this track is how real everything sounded. Not crystal clear, not smooth, not polite, not super dynamic, just how real it sounded in the most direct meaning of the word. As you already know, I have swapped plenty of power amplifiers before I transitioned to Chord Electronics Ultima Preamp and also Ultima 3 monoblock amplifiers that I'm using right now. But there was a time when I used to benchmark AHB2 power amplifiers, and at that time I was super happy about them because I find them super transparent, very detailed sounding, but in time I realized that this is not how music is supposed to sound. It was exactly that. It was sound, but it wasn't really music to my ears. But when I swapped those AHB2 with the KECES S300, everything that was missing into my system simply returned back. The soul of the music came back into this listening room. Dynamics improved, control of the drivers improved, and finally the mid-range was much smoother, much purer sounding compared to what I was getting from the AHB2. A single KECES S300 power amplifier versus two benchmark AHB2 made the sound easier on the ear with absolutely zero grain and zero listening fatigue. But right now on the S300 Plus we have a much higher damping factor of 4000, and I won't exaggerate telling you that right now I have a nicer control of the drivers and also a purer sound as well. A higher damping factor is basically lowering the output impedance of the amplifier, and thus the sound gets purer with less resistance applied to the signal path. Audio engineers mention that a higher damping factor is only tightening the sound, but in my experience it's much more complex than that, because I can say that the sound is ever so slightly clearer and also more impactful at lower volumes. Realistically speaking, upgrading from S300 to S300 Plus in an entry to mid-level setup, there shouldn't be a significant difference, but once you step up your game and use some better electronics and much better speakers, then you won't need more than 5 minutes to realize that 300 Plus is simply edging its predecessor in driver control, signal purity, low-level listening, noise floor, and dynamics. Once you pop up its hood and take a look inside, you'll quickly realize that S300 Plus is incredibly simple looking on the inside. And that's certainly a very good thing. In traditional amplifier design, a shorter signal path will always yield a purer and a more transparent sound. And just take a look how neatly everything is arranged in such a cramped space. Two massive heatsinks, a couple of transistors bolted to them, a big transformer sitting in the middle, surrounded by a substantial filtering stage, and that's pretty much it. All of the protection systems are mounted on a tiny daughter board, and in truth, it does look pretty simplistic on the inside, which can only suggest a short signal path that won't interfere that much. Lacking op-amps, capacitors and inductors in its signal path is making it transparent sounding and as close as possible to the source material. There wasn't a moment when I felt that something was missing from my music that I knew for a lifetime, and the S300 Plus was gently pushing forward some of those micro details and tiny nuances without forcing me to close my eyes for a better focus. In this regard, S300 Plus surpassed all of my former integrated and power amplifiers, except for Chord Ultima lineup that's considerably more expensive and undeniably clearer sounding as well. Like its older brother, the S300 Plus is a direct coupled amplifier, so except for those JFETs sitting at the input stage and MOSFETs at the output current buffer stage, nothing will alter its sound and nothing is staying in front of the signal. If you care about sound transparency, if you care about detail retrieval, then I believe direct coupled amplifiers should be on your short shopping list. I compared it with several amplifiers that I still had on hand, just to arrive at a similar conclusion that the S300 Plus is ever so slightly clearer and more detailed compared to a pair of live GAN-M mono amplifiers, and it's pretty much on the same level with a pair of Barson Timekeepers Voyagers. When describing the soundstage and stereo imaging of the S300 Plus, the first thing that comes into my mind is honesty. It's not trying to decompress the soundstage and push a bigger-than-life sound, trying to impress in the first 5 minutes of play. Instead, it builds a realistically proportioned acoustic space that feels just right. In terms of width, the S300 Plus allows the stage to expand naturally beyond the outer edges of the speakers when the recording contains such information. It does not exaggerate lateral spread, and the result is a presentation that feels wide and open. With well-recorded live albums, the ambient cues extend outward with ease, and that is giving a convincing sense of space without sounding artificially enhanced. However, the depth reproduction is exactly where the S300 Plus becomes more impressive. It builds a layered presentation with clear front-to-back separation. Lead vocals and primary instruments occupy a defined front plane, while secondary elements sit progressively behind them in organized tiers. Overall, the KECES S300 Plus presents a well-layered soundstage and a very precise imaging, having strong and defined spatial cues. The result is an expansive yet controlled presentation where instruments are clearly separated. Now, I won't talk much about the noise floor because after testing 3 different power amplifiers, The S300 Plus emerged as a dead silent amplifier with zero audible noise floor when approaching my speakers. The S300 Plus also incorporates AC in-rush current limiting, overload protection, and over-temperature protection. And while these are primary safety features, they also stabilize operating conditions and protect downstream components from voltage spikes. The oversized transformer combined with substantial capacitance and proper regulation stage ensures stable voltage delivery under any load. All of that contributes to a quieter electrical environment, so in a way it behaves like a small power conditioner with its own filtering and regulation. I compared the S300 Plus with the LiveGun M and also with the Barson Timekeeper GT3, and it seems that S300 Plus is more effective at suppressing the noise. It was consistently dead silent in my listening room. I approached the speakers, pushed the volume close to maximum, and still nothing came out of them. No hiss, no hum, no transformer buzz. Absolutely nothing like that, and there is nothing I dislike more than a muddy presentation caused by an elevated distortion or by a raised noise floor. Luckily, S300 Plus is neither of those, and as of right now it remains among the cleanest sounding power amplifiers that I tested in my system. Wrapping up, it becomes very clear that KECES S300 Plus is not a true revolution in amplifier design and more like a natural evolution of things. And living with it for quite a while made me realize that it's not chasing exaggerated power numbers, instead it chases refinement. And in high-end audio, refinement is the hardest thing to achieve and the easiest thing to underestimate. Compared to the original S300, the Plus version is more refined, it's more transparent, and it's more controlled sounding at the same time. The bass notes, for example, start and stop with a greater precision. Low-level listening becomes more articulate and more engaging, and micro details emerge from a darker background. The sound doesn't feel just tighter, it feels purer as well. The higher damping factor is not only about grip over woofers, it's also about reducing output impedance to a point where the signal encounters less resistance on its way to the speakers. The result is clarity without edge and authority without aggression. If you're upgrading from S300 to S300 Plus in a modest setup, then the differences are quite subtle. But if you're upgrading in a reference system with some top-of-the-line loudspeakers, then the differences are quite substantial and you can hear them right away. And considering all of the above, I believe that S300 Plus deserved my highly impressive award, and I'm very excited to know what they are cooking next. Before you go, you can find a much longer review for the S300 Plus in the description box below, and if you want to know everything about it, then please check that out. Thanks as always for watching. Please consider liking, disliking, maybe subscribing to this channel if you found this video helpful, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers!